We all like Romulan ale, but we don't trust any of them. They always seem to know more than they let on, and it's
they're space dark elves.
yes.
Pretty much. Tell me someone else caught on to that.
Well, especially because they're Vulcans.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that Vulcans were space elves, Romulans were the space dark elves, Klingons were the space orcs, and
with a bit of space
the Ferengi were the space goblins. Money-centric, huge ears.
That's right.
Yeah, like, it was just...
And the Borg are the space undead.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yeah.
It was
They're
just
the
a fantasy
and the
show.
Queen is the Lich King.
Roddenberry was a secret D&D fan.
Terrible Warriors is brought to you by Patreon supporters at patreon.com/Terrible Warriors. And this game was recorded in front of a live Patreon audience on our Discord channel. Go to terriblewarriors.com. You can click on those links and join us there. Today on the Terrible Warriors, we boldly go where no one has gone before. Because we're playing Star Trek. That's like the start of the line. That's what they say. Now, Justin, the GM, brings together his Starfleet officers to choose their starship. Where will they be in their home among the stars? We zero in on Narendra Station, where they'll make their choice. Oh, spoilers, it's gonna take the whole hour. Because these Starfleet officers, without a ship to call their home, they are your Terrible Warriors. Yes, welcome to the Terrible Warriors. I am your Game Master, Justin Ecock, and I am finally sitting down to play a game that I kid you not, wanted to play since the very first time we sat down playing a game with Terrible Warriors. I think that was way back when I played the Shadowrun game in the first year.
Oh, damn.
I have wanted to play this setting for the longest time, but I never wanted to just put it into any old rule set, and I was been looking around for what can I work it with. When we played Machine Zeit 2 years ago, that was actually supposed to be in this setting, and as I read it, it's like, it's not really going to fit in the Machine Zeit world. It's too cool as it is, so we played it as it was written.
And the rule sets for this setting sucked.
And I kept and there was a role playing game made in this setting years ago that I was told don't even bother, it's garbage.
Yep.
And so I've been sitting and waiting, and then finally Modiphius descended from the heavens and upon us from the mountain gave us the commandments of Star Trek. and they wrote they didn't just write a good rule set, they wrote a really good rule book, and it just came on sale now. It's been on pre-order throughout the year, and it came out the first week of September. And I will get into this in the debrief because, god damn it, the first 75 pages of this 300-page book is entirely lore and like in-universe character of like background stuff. If you don't know Star Trek, but you've got Star Trek fans, read this book front to back. You will know everything you need to know to run a Star Trek game.
As someone who loves reading the Star Trek encyclopedia,
but you know what though? But not even like going through Memory Alpha or the encyclopedia. It's not written cold like it's written in character. Yeah. You don't just understand the history of Star Trek. You understand the tone and the motivations. For every bit where it has like, here's what the Prime Directive is, it then has a log from the Romulan Empire making fun of the Prime Directive and how naive it is, and the Ferengis going like, awesome. There's those idiots, they don't know the Prime Directive, there's no profit in it. And they go through even a log entry from a commanding officer from Starfleet going like, some days it's really hard to follow the Prime Directive, and I know why we have it because we're not gods, but I wish we didn't have. And it's really, it offers these point and counterpoints to everything that you think is like, this is Star Trek, and then it has all this other like, but there's these people who don't really believe it. And anyway, it's really, really good. And the rules are good too, and we're going to see that as we play through it. The dice rolls are clever, the character creation is interesting. I am so excited to finally play this game. The one thing we haven't done yet is actually created our ship. I wanted to have that as part of the story because you're arriving to your new assignment, and we'll introduce our characters and your names too as we arrive at Starbase 364, Narendra Station, named after the Battle of Narendra 3. It happened about 50 years ago. The Enterprise C responded to a distress call from the Klingon colony world of Narendra 3. Under attack by Romulans, they sacrificed themselves to defeat the Romulans and hold them back. They were destroyed in the process. Narendra 3 was captured by the Romulans, but the mere act of showing up and sacrificing themselves to defend Klingons brought together a lasting peace that has lasted almost 100 years from then with the formation of the Kittimer Accords. It brought the Federation of the Klingons together. Seeing these Starfleet officers fight with honor did that. This station is named after Narendra 3 and is on the edge of what is called the Shackleton Expanse. It's an area of space between Federation and Klingon territory that's never been explored, partly because there's been no interest to, and it wasn't safe to go there. It would show too aggressive on either side to explore. So there's this big swath of territory that no one has ever mapped out and surveyed before. We don't know what's in there. It's only ever had survey probes, which can only kind of give you surface level detail about the systems and what number of planets there are. And so coming together now under a growing threat of the Dominion that have been discovered in the Gamma Quadrant through the Bajoran wormhole, there's real worry that we are on a course for war that can't be avoided, unfortunately. And we're not ready. The fleet has been decimated by the Borg and is still being rebuilt. The Klingons are still recovering from a civil war brought on by the Romulans, and their fleets are still being rebuilt. We're not ready to take on the Dominion. So we need to find allies, we need to find resources, we need to know what's out here because it's dangerous having a big blind spot right in our backyard that no one's ever explored. So this is a vital interest mission from Starfleet Command to find out what's here, but also the ongoing mission to seek out new life, new civilizations, and to boldly go. And so now we are boldly going with our allies into the Shackleton Expanse. The four of you have arrived to Narendra Station to be given your new assignments and to be given command, in some cases, and roles as the senior staff of a newly refitted ship, fitted for this mission. It might be an old ship, it might be a new ship, but even an older ship has been renovated through the years and given refits. This ship is waiting at Narendra Station when you arrive. We don't know what it is. We're actually, as a table, going to create this like a character, because the ship is a character. And in fact, when you ever do a roll with the ship, another player will roll as the ship, as an assist roll to aid in your attempt. So when you are scanning a system or firing torpedoes or doing the transporters, you're working with the ship. And as we explore it, I really hope you're going to fall in love with this ship the way
Jordy did?
The way the audiences do with. I mean, there's a reason why, like, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise are all named after their ships. Like, it's the name of their show, and it's more than a home. It becomes an ally and a defender of you.
Part of the family.
Become part of the family. So, the four of you arrive. I don't care which order you do. You can introduce yourselves. Narendra Station is, like I said, it's being jointly run by Klingon and Federation forces. So there's a nice mix of both Federation uniforms and allied species and Klingons, who are all Klingons. There are no non-Klingons that serve in the Klingon Defense Force. For Conal, who doesn't know much about Star Trek, there are non-alien worlds or non-Klingon worlds as part of the Klingon Empire, but because the Klingon Defense Force is mostly run by the nobility class and only noble Klingons can hold a house, they only get to serve in the Klingon Navy. So non-Klingons serve at the pleasure of the Empire, but usually on their own worlds, mining and sending resources, and they don't rarely get out into Klingon society. So we've never, as a Federation, we've never actually met any of them. We just know they're there because Klingon space is as big as Federation space. It's either they wipe them all dead, which doesn't seem very Klingon.
Not logical.
Or they just keep them on their planets and put them to work. And they keep them safe. They protect their territory and they protect their empire, but it is just not proper for non-Klingons to serve on a Klingon ship, with the exception of officer transfer programs with the Federation, where usually they'll swap. And there's an episode where Riker actually does that.
Yes.
Commander Riker is sent to become the first officer of a Klingon vessel. And then there's a later episode where a first officer from a Klingon vessel is sent to serve on the Enterprise. So we know that those kind of exchange programs happen, and they almost never go smoothly. But those are exceptions to the rule. For the most part, walking around Narendra Station, you're seeing Andorians, blue-skinned Andorians, and the cat-like Katerans and Tellarites. Vulcans are around. Lots of humans. The humans make up the bulk of Starfleet, just because most of the other allied species of the Federation don't really care for this drive to explore the way the humans are. They're obsessed with going over that next horizon, and rather than just staying at home and reading a good book. So there's lots of humans on Narendra and lots of Klingons. the station is kind of split up between the Federation wings and the Klingon wings because the Klingon wing got a little rough. So you're going over there, you're going to get stabbed and poisoned, and you're going to play that arm wrestling game where there's knives on two sides of the table. Like, it's crazy. So, like, let's just leave them over there. A lot of the Klingons are staying on their own ship because the Narendra station is a Federation-built station with
But it's on the border.
Federation comforts and, feathered beds and all this stuff, right? A good Klingon has to sleep on like a
Just saying
slab.
beds is enough.
Klingons just sleep on like a slab of metal, and they just call it home. So they stick on their ships. There's lots of Klingon cruisers around that are coming in and out doing missions. It's not Deep Space Nine busy, but it's busy-ish. And who wants to here arrive? You come in either on another ship or a shuttle or wherever, and you've probably been here on Narendra for a few weeks waiting for your ship to arrive. So this is an opportunity here for you to introduce your real name, your character name, and welcome to the show because we have some longtime Terrible Warriors and some first-time Terrible Warriors. So we'll say hello, starting with. The other person who's also wanted to run a Star Trek game since the very beginning. I'll just start with you, Steve.
Oh man, this is going to be so great. So my name is obviously Steve Saylor, aka the Blind Gamer, and as my character steps off the shuttle platform, I look around and through my ocular implants, I turn on the EM band so I can because I love seeing
ocular implant. You have cybernetic eyes.
I have cybernetic eyes, and I love seeing kind of like the EM band, like just kind of like swirling around the starbase, and just kind of like just enjoying kind of like I always love doing that because I love seeing the beautiful colors and like just the hub of electricity and just energy that surrounds everything.
Your implants are able to see not just visible light that humanoid eyes can see, but the
Electromagnetic
full
spectrum.
Yes, full spectrum.
But you're able to filter between that so you don't like overload.
Yeah, so I quickly take a look around, kind of gather myself, and just sort of put myself into kind of a Zen state, and then I shut the EM band off, and I look around and I see the shuttle bay, and then I kind of look out and I see the system like through the big large windows. And I pick up my belongings and I just kind of walk towards.
You meet a duty officer who welcomes you to Narendra Station. We've been waiting your arrival. Your name?
Lieutenant Commander Adam Monroe, reporting for duty.
Lieutenant Monroe, I have you down here. Chief Engineer, your ship will be arriving in the next few days. Other members of your crew have already arrived. And
fantastic. Where would they be
And
found?
so at that point, the camera stops and we go to another scene with another character already on the station who's been here for a while, maybe sitting at the Replomat having a nice bit of Raktajino, some Klingon coffee. Good old strong. It's the one thing that like everyone can agree on. There's no coffee like Raktajino. So the Klingons know how to brew a good strong, bold, always black coffee.
Always black coffee.
You do not put milk in Klingon coffee.
You put cream in there and it fights it off.
It's like putting oil into water. It just like immediately separates it.
Put into the liquid that basically just eats all the like cream.
Yeah, but don't worry. This Raktajino has synthahol in it. It's not spiked with real alcohol.
Right.
But that's in the Klingon wing.
Synthahol. I imagine that he'd be sitting somewhere like sort of on the edge of where they hang out, just kind of like observing as they do stuff. And is there like a large bay window that would view where the ship is being done?
Oh yeah, the Federation love their big open windows into space that make
Big
no practical
windows into space.
because of transparent aluminum. It's real easy to justify
the transparent steel that they have.
I almost kind of pictured like the starbase, like every like large window looks out towards the ship, like so no matter where you are,
and especially
you
the
can see
Replomat and areas, the restaurant and the common areas. They always have the best viewports out so that visitors can have a look and they can see the ships coming and going. And you see Narendra 3 down below that the ship, the station is orbiting, and it's just this beautiful like green orb there, and that's where the Klingon colony is down there.
Standing at the window, enjoying his coffee and listening sort of half to the culture that's next to him. Commander Gavin Schofield looks out the window at the ship that he's going to be on very soon. Yeah.
All we see is a shadow. We haven't met the ship yet.
It's like the opening to Skyrim. Like, it just changes shapes and sizes until it just, like, locks in. Yeah. And then...
We haven't gone to the select ship.
To the execution block. Like, it's just right
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this ship will blow up at the end of this episode, and we'll make another one in episode 2.
Make a new one.
Plenty
of
of
course.
letters left in the alphabet.
Sorry. But yeah, then he just kind of stands there and enjoys his coffee. And has a look out.
Commander Schofield, both you and Adam Monroe are you're both human.
Yes.
You're markedly older than him, where Monroe is an experienced officer. You're a veteran.
Yeah.
You've
in his
served
30s,
before.
40s.
You've served a distinguished career for about 20 years now. You've earned this command now through many things, which I'm sure will come up in our story. But yeah, you're sitting there just quietly, stoically, kind of just taking it as like Klingons are going by, going, oh, they smack people on the back. They told some kind of joke that no one understands, and they start breaking out into song, and they kind of disappear down the hallway.
It's just like
You don't know if they're happy or drunk or always like that, but like Klingons,
both.
they're always laughing, they're always singing, and they're just space Vikings. It's just all the time. So from that, we follow the laughing Klingons down the hallway, and the camera then goes into a room. And who's waiting in that room? We've got 2 more to introduce.
I'll be in that room.
So we have the youngest person now that we've met, another human, and we see that you have the mark of an ensign on your uniform, and maybe you're looking around. This is your first assignment. You've certainly never been this close to Klingons before, like uniformed Defense Force Klingons, and this is very loud and maybe a little overwhelming, but you're excited because this is what you've gone through the academy for, and you've been waiting for this bit. You're wide-eyed with excitement. So what room are you in? I was gonna say we could have been a laboratory, but it might be a bar.
I guess it's where I'm in a cafe.
Okay. So we go in. It's a little bit unlike the replimat out by the bay windows. This is a more like there's some music playing. There's a Dabo table that has been brought in because it's gotten real popular over at Deep Space Nine. Dabo in the background, and there's a holographic bartender at the table handing out. He's just.
Please state the nature of your alcoholism.
Yeah, and maybe he is played by Robert Picardo still because they're still kind of early on in this technology. And he's just playing all
They
these.
took them out of the mines. And
He's like an early prototype EMH that didn't work out well, so they just serve drinks. So he's out. And he's a rude bartender too. He's like, "Oh, is that the drink you want? Fine. Well, don't thank me later. This one would have been better."
So yeah, I guess I'm sitting at the space bar, having a glass of synthahol, trying to just sort of drink in my surroundings because, as you say, I haven't really been around that many aliens, and I look a little disconcerted by the Klingons.
Are they going to laugh at you? Or are they going to hit you?
Yeah, exactly.
are they going to hit you and laugh at you?
Both.
Look how squishy he is.
Welcome to the fleet. Bam! They're knocking wind out of you. What's your name?
Ensign Armstrong.
Ensign Armstrong. And
Played by.
Oh, right.
played by Brent Morris.
Brent Morris.
New to the show. Welcome to the show, Brent. You've been wanting to. I've known Brent for years, and I know you and Steve go way back as well. And
10 years almost.
Yeah, so it's just been like a long time coming to finally have you at the table. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You're playing Ensign Steve Armstrong, who's you've been given the duty assignment. You haven't met your ship yet, but you'll be the helmsman on this ship. You're an ensign on track for command one day when you have the experience to take on that responsibility. But for now, you've got an aptitude for command, and you're good enough as a con officer. So you're going to be on the bridge with the captain, but flying the ship. And maybe you'll be given other responsibilities when it comes to things like away teams and department heads, research, whatever. Right? Like there's room to grow on a ship like this.
Right. So the Klingons walking by sort of make me a little uneasy, and I'm sitting at the bar, sort of trying to hold court. I guess a little cocky. Talking a good game about
your comm badge beeps, and someone's asking for you to report because we're ready the ship, and you're late for the briefing now. And it goes to your science officer, who's going to be, for now, until Schofield has actually arrived and taken command, the science officer has just sort of taken the rank right now of looking after some of the other people around and just making sure we're all ready to present ourselves when the captain arrives, when the ship is ready, because this mission is been quite important to you to lead the research survey into this new unexplored swath of space. And you've always felt more comfortable in the stars, and you've been stuck on this starbase for a few weeks now. You're going a little stir crazy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Velvet Duke. I'm with the Dandies. We do our improvised Star Trek. It's going to be nice to do the improvised role-playing.
Yeah, well, in Holodeck Follies, will that be happening through September and October?
We do. We have a monthly show.
Sweet. So during the course of the release of these episodes,
Yes.
we'll double up and mention Holodeck Follies as it's
Wonderful.
happening, because
Thank you.
this is going to kind of happen in sync with at least 2 of those shows as we release through the next 2 months.
Wonderful.
So you're playing our science officer, as I
I
spoiled.
am. I'm the science officer, Lieutenant Lassabo. I am Bajoran. I am very obviously Bajoran in both my demeanor and my cockiness. My cockiness, although unlike yours, has religious might on its side.
Oh no.
You are cockiness because you follow the prophets.
Well,
You have a
the
strong
prophets
paw.
will it.
You have a strong paw.
I had a strong paw and a strong maw, and
The
that
Conal
being said,
is new to
yeah.
Star Trek. The paw is a thing that Bajorans do is they'll reach the side of your ear and hold the lobe of your ear, which they have. Maybe it's telepathy, maybe it's just superstition, but by holding the lobe of their ear, they're able to sort of sense your spiritual chi, which they call a paw, P-A-G-H, and it's used to determine your strong-willedness and your favor with the prophets, and so. It's kind of, is it actually telepathy, or is it just
Superstitious
or is it just
gobbledygook, yeah.
or is it a way to grab somebody by the ear and let them know you're in charge?
Listen, you have a strong paw, but I'm the medic. So anyway, so despite your religious upbringing, you're
Yes.
also a man of science,
I am
and you've
very
gone
much a
through,
man of
which is
science.
quite easy since your religion is scientifically provable
Yes.
with actual orbs that have been studied and actual prophets that have been found,
That showed up.
and an actual celestial temple that
Yeah.
opens up every 30 minutes. So.
Where's your god? Literally right
Right
there.
there.
Right there.
And the commander of Deep Space Nine talks to them bi-weekly.
As regular meetings, they take notes and they go with the minutes of each meeting.
We're Twitter friends.
He follows you on Twitter? Yes.
So I've taken it upon myself to. I want the rest of the crew to be ready for the captain because I know the captain.
We'll get to that. The two of you have, if you are a Patreon supporter and you listen to our pre-brief, you already know what that history is. But there's a reason why you're trying to get everyone in line and get them already. You want to put on a good first impression because you're a little nervous about how this exact.
Because your first impression was not so great.
Well, the first impression was okay. It was the second and third ones that were.
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle, it kind of just went a little south.
He slid it too much into those DMs. I'm just like, that was the problem.
So, so then actually we hear that 2 of the crew member just outside of your earshot are kind of whispering to each other like, I can't believe they put Bo on command duty with Commander Schofield. Like, I don't, didn't he kill his son? That's what everyone talks about, but it was clear to charge it. I don't know. It was all over the news net,
The space news.
6 years ago. There was a court martial and everything. And so people have there's this rumor now going among the lower decks of what's happening. There's your reputation, where everyone has a reputation sort of default at 10 because your reputation is a little bit lower. Just at 9, it doesn't mechanically change much in the game, but there's people they've heard things. They've also heard, also the talks on the lower deck that they're really looking forward to meeting this new chief engineer because he's a war hero. He fought at Wolf 359. He fought against the Borg and he survived. And people have really started building up that he's got robot eyes, just like the Enterprise's engineer. And he actually built them. He's upgraded Geordi LaForge. This guy he's legit. So there's a bit of like hero worship happening on one end. There's a bit of like unsuredness happening with the scientific department.
Yeah, you goof.
So there's that going on. So as we've now met our four, the four of you are arriving for you're the senior staff of this ship, which doesn't have a name yet, but it's docked in the station. And as we arrive on the ship to get your briefing from the station commanders, we have to pick out what that ship's going to be. I gave you some options when we were setting up the game offline between, I believe it was 5 or 6 to choose
6,
from.
Yeah.
Types of ships, yeah.
The types of ships. I believe it was the Akira, These aren't the names of the ships. These are just the ship class.
Yeah.
The Akira, the Miranda, the Constellation, the Galaxy, and the Nova,
Excelsior.
and the Excelsior.
Yeah.
This game can run with any of them. It'll run differently with each of them. They are each good at different things and at different roles being given. So among the four of you, it's going to be kind of a vote because the four of you are going to help me create this ship. What kind of ship do you want to serve on? And let's you know what? Let's just go. Each of you've got your idea. Don't change it. But I'd like each of you to let's just say what your first choice would be.
On the count of three, just shout it all at once.
Not at once, but Velvet. What of the classes really appeals to you?
Galaxy is my home ship. So
Yeah.
that's the one that, top of mind, I'm just going to say Galaxy. But like this role itself.
Guys, for people who are listening, the year is 2371. Galaxy-class ships are about 20 years old at this point. Or not 20 years, they're about 10, just under 10 years old. So they're not the cutting-edge ship. Starfleet design has kind of moved past these big bulking ships that are built for everything to more specialized smaller ships like the recently missing USS Voyager and the recently missing USS Equinox, which is a Nova class. These new designs keep going missing, and the prototype Defiant that's arrived at Deep Space Nine. Smaller, specialized craft. The days of the big ships of the line, bigger is not always better. The Enterprise had a lot of technical problems that went with it, a lot of systems and a lot of redundancies that ended up like holodeck malfunctions. You just have to, there's a whole chapter of that now in Starfleet design. So
something Cyrus Redblock.
exactly. And Moriarty. And oof, we just accidentally made a sentient species that has now taken over the ship from the holodeck.
Again.
What do you mean fucking whoops?
So the Galaxy class is an interesting design because it's not cutting edge anymore. People have kind of moved about it. It's not the favorite among designers anymore.
It's the Oldsmobile
and it's
the...
probably surprisingly like the classes like the Excelsior and the Miranda that are each almost 100 years old will surprisingly probably outlast the Galaxy design and will continue to serve in the fleet as the Galaxy. They're not building more Galaxy class ships, and the ones that are around. There's actually the USS Odyssey was just blown up in the Gamma Quadrant by the Dominion, and the Enterprise is still around, but we're getting in the lore. We're getting a little close to.
That was the first to mind, but I would like to play a different ship. But I will also admit that I don't know each of the ships to go, oh, I want the Miranda because the blinking lights go asynchronous.
We're not going to get that heavy into it. I mean, the Miranda is about the size of the original Enterprise, or not Kirk's Enterprise, the Constitution class. It's just a saucer section with 2 nacelles, but it's modular. It's 100 years old, sure, but it's a workhorse. It can get stuff done. It's a great ship for doing exactly what you need it to do. And it's just tried and true. And there's a reason why when Khan took it over, he's able to fly it so easy, because it is just an easy ship to fly. It just works. The Miranda class just works, which is why it's still in service today. And it's in every engagement, there's a Miranda class flying around it. It fought the Borg. Well, if they have 9, it will fight the Borg again in Star Trek First Contact. It fights on the front line in the Dominion War that hasn't happened yet. It's always there. And it was there right up until Voyager got back to Earth in like 9 years. And so it's still happening. All right, like the Miranda class isn't going anywhere. It's a good, solid ship. It's the Oldsmobile there. The Excelsior is another tried and true design. The Enterprise C was the Excelsior. The Excelsior was obviously the Excelsior Sulu ship. It kind of looks like a squished down version of the Enterprise with like a xylophone neck, but it's more designed for long-range ships. It's more robust for combat. It's got different types of sensors, where the Miranda is a really good survey and support vessel. The Excelsior is a really good, like, go out on your own and take care of yourself kind of ship. But again, both of them are kind of in the medium-sized category. Galaxy-class ship is the biggest one. Obviously, it's got saucer separation. It's got 1,000 crew members. It's got families on board. It's going to be it's going to be a different kind of story on a Galaxy class ship because we're going to be dealing with a lot of people living on the ship that aren't crew members as well. So the responsibilities of a Galaxy class ship are entirely different from the responsibilities of a small like Defiant class combat vessel. The Akira It's about the same size as the Miranda, designed more recently specifically to fight the Borg, but that also means because it's fighting the Borg, it has to be really versatile. It needs to be able to change up its shields and change up its weapons, change up its strategy on the fly. It's got a rapid response system. It can fire torpedoes very fast, but can also be designed to fire probes and sensor equipment and better shield and faster engines. So it's not just for combat.
Rapid fire probes.
But it's not. But it's not
Science.
it's not just designed for combat. It's designed,
science, bam!
It's an extremely versatile ship that has now been used for rapid response to climate disasters on planets, to responding to border threats, to chasing down pirates, but also assisting people in distress, and it can do the job real well and decisively. It's a ship that is if the Galaxy class is a broadsword, the Akira is more of a scalpel, and it can really get the job done quite effectively. Where the Galaxy class ship it's sweeping. It's going to be able to do a lot of things, but it's going to do it bluntly, right? It's not a subtle
There's no
ship.
precision in it.
No, well, I mean, it's not a ship designed for subtlety or espionage or
It's a
doing
show-off.
like precision stuff. It's got a lot of extra stuff on it.
The Constellation class is also on the same size of the Akira. It's a single saucer with 4 nacelles off the back. It was the USS Stargazer, Picard's old command, is that ship. And the 4 nacelles give it a big power to its speed and maneuverability. It's a little overpowered at times, but it can pack a punch. And if you need to get into a system quick and get out of a system quick, the Constellation's your crew. It's also one of those other workhorse ships. It's easy to fit up. It's got a strong crew complement. It's got a lot of power behind it to power those engines. It's got redundant backup generators, so you can get a lot more bang for its buck. A lot of it's packed into the Constellation ship, and I think that's all of them. I don't think I missed one. And the
Nova
Nova.
class.
The Nova
Yeah.
class
Yeah.
is the most recent one, the most experimental. It
It's a
was
science
it was
vessel
only built in the
mainly.
last 3 years. There's only been about a dozen of them actually built. 3 of them have already gone missing. At least one is confirmed destroyed. It's
Goodness.
it's a science vessel. It's specifically designed for short to medium term missions, not for deep space exploration, which will work very well for the Shackleton Expanse as well. And it's designed for science and a small crew of like 80 people. So the crew on the Nova will be handpicked almost, where a crew on the Galaxy class ship is just like
Everybody.
anyone who applied. you got everyone. You got everyone from like. You're gonna have like a 16th century historian living on your ship. It's like, what do you do here? That's my hobby, and they posted me on the ship so I can keep working on my doctorate.
Actually, they just built the ship around me.
It's a flying city.
Well, there's this
basically.
ridiculous
Like-
thing when Picard goes into the big goodbye to do this Dixon Hill thing with Cyrus Red Block. They bring along their red shirt of the episode is that he's a 20th century historian. That's like his duty on the ship. It's, what do you do? You sit on a library reading like
Books
crime
about
novels,
the
like.
fucking 20th century. He's
But,
like,
but specifically, like also
That's what it's
fiction.
about.
Like
That's
he
what I
knows
do.
like noir fiction is like his doctorate on noir fiction. It's like, how many specialties do you have on this ship? And it's obviously you have all of them.
With all the
Yes.
time travel, you need it.
It's a post-scarcity society. You can do whatever. You know what?
At one point, I
love
think-
lint. All right, we need
I
you.
think at one point the Enterprise D had like a dolphin aquarium in the back of it. Right? It's just
Well,
it's
there are ships that are run aquatic
Yeah.
led ships.
no, and the Xindi are a member of the Federation as
Yeah.
well, and there are the
Yeah.
aquatic Xindi. So
Titan has a whole aquatic deck.
yeah. Oh, interesting. So there we go.
That was a deep dive.
That is a deep dive. Because not only is that like it's such a deep dive, it's like that's a deep dive
The
into
Titan.
a deep dive.
No, correct me. The Titan is Riker's
That's
next
Riker's
command.
command.
Goes
Yeah.
into all the
Yeah, I didn't know that.
TNG stuff.
The fire at will meme.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. We gotta pick a ship.
All right, so
30 minutes in, we haven't picked our ship.
based on what you said, Galaxy, there's going to be family there, so I do not want that one. I am going to go with the. I probably
Everywhere I
should-
look, I'm reminded of my son.
The Akira class is the one for me.
Okay, Conal.
I had a son once.
Wait. But Brent, you got to repeat the joke that you said earlier.
I don't remember it.
Conal, you got to vote here.
I never trusted the Bajorans. I never will.
We got. What class ship kind of appeals to you?
I forgot to mention earlier. Sorry, yeah, my name is Conal MacBeth, better known in the nerd community as Dr. Terrawat.
Hi, Conal.
Hi, everybody.
Conal.
Most folks call me Doc. Well, here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of the ships that you're mentioning that have a lot of really cool specializations. I mean, I've obviously got a soft spot for a science vessel, having a large interest in science out of game. But, like, the Akira being the more retrofitted combat vessel, which can be sort of like tuned for exploration and stuff like that, might be really
with the exception of the Defiant, which I didn't give you as an option because there's only one right now. It's a prototype. Every Starfleet vessel is designed for its primary mission of scientific discovery.
Exactly. So it's just a more combat-centric.
And every ship, even the scientific ships,
scientific
ships like the Nova, are designed to also go toe-to-toe if they need to defend themselves. Right? They're defensive measures that the Starfleet still has, even against the other adversaries in the Alpha and Beta Quadrant. Are. Their weapons are top of the line, and they will defend themselves and their allies if they have to.
No, and that was the thing is I'm just like I'm looking at this like, okay, well you have like all these ships that have these very cool
I sent you pictures as well. Like one looks cool too,
and the pictures are really fucking neato. But I'm just like, because I don't know a lot about Star Trek and whatnot, like you see the picture of the Galaxy class, like the Enterprise, you're like, yeah, that sounds good. And they're like, oh, this is also a fucking huge ship. And I was like, I love fucking huge ships because, like, it gives you
It's the tall ship.
It's not just that. It gives you the avenue to do a lot of things. Like you're like you mentioned, it's like if you run across a bunch of smugglers who are in a river and you bring like a fucking helicarrier to that thing. I'm like, yeah, but I think that's hilarious. I think that's
but
really
parking, man.
But parking, shit. No.
There's no green pea around.
I don't want to drive that.
And like a Galaxy class was like the modern day Enterprise. It's a fucking tub by comparison to the rest of the ships. It's a barge, and I like that because it has a lot of really spanning facilities with regards to engineering and science. It has whole families and groups of people. So if we need to draw on people that we don't have a very specific area of expertise, we might have someone who's on board the ship that can help us out with that. Yeah. It's a little bit unfortunate that that some of the story might end up taking place like more on the ship.
Here's the thing they actually have in the rule about the Galaxy class. In favor of the Galaxy class, they have little blurbs in character in the rule books describing each ship by a person in the universe. Yeah. The Galaxy-class ship headline is Bringers of Hope. When you hear stories from refugees across the Orion Spur, Federation starships have a mythical reputation as bringers of hope to those in need. I had no reason to think of these stories as anything more than tales of old children so they can sleep at night. But then that day our star began a series of flares and our orbital infrastructures began to deorbit, and the sight of the USS Cygnus entering orbit in response to our distress call made me a believer. And then it goes on from there. So that's like when the Galaxy-class ship moves in, just the sight of that ship has an immediate reaction to people that see it. Like other ships are subtle or under or old or small, but that Galaxy-class ship is
it's
just
like it's the flagship of the Federation. It is the most well-known ship.
Yeah.
It's the flagship design that they've got because the Enterprise was the flagship of the Federation for the longest time, and it was a Galaxy class.
Yeah. Well, and it still is. The Enterprise D is still in service. It's nearing its end. We're at the end of TNG is over, and the stardate we're on is like the few weeks leading up to Star Trek Generations.
Yeah.
So Voyager has gone missing, but Deep Space Nine is not at war with the Dominion yet. So we're in a nice little we can tell a story.
A little pocket in the middle, and that's the thing is I'm like I like the idea of having a large enough ship that if no matter what happens, we have something that can respond to it. We're large enough that if there is a skirmish, we can just the presence alone can diffuse a conflict, and we have options. Like we have the ability to defend ourselves and say, okay, stop it before we have to like put anybody that we're working with in danger.
But now, as I mentioned too, there's another rule here. The older the ship is, the more refits we'll get to choose, which could customize the attributes of that ship. The newer the ship, you're stuck with the attributes that they are.
This thing's about 10 years.
So it entered service in 2359, and we're in 2371. So we'll get 1 or 2 refits. That will allow you to customize. Whereas if we were to choose the Miranda class or the Excelsior, you're going to get 10 that we're going to be able to go through to really make it like
really wacky shit.
Your own ship. Yeah. So, okay, so cool. We got an Akira and we got a Galaxy. And Brent?
I'm leaning towards the Excelsior.
Okay.
Son of a bitch.
Excelsior!
It's got a bunch of, like you said, we can upgrade it to make it our own ship. And
hailed as the great experiment.
Yeah, it's fast. It sounds like it'll be fun to drive.
Is that the one with the 4
No,
things?
it's not.
No.
It's it looks here. There's a picture there.
Oh
It's,
yeah, the Excelsior is basically like a smaller
It's
Enterprise.
Sulu's ship.
Right,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's Sulu's ship.
The description you just gave for the Galaxy class, in my head, that's what Excelsior used to be.
Yeah, it was once the
It was the
flagship.
flagship. It hasn't been for almost a generation, but it's still good. It comes with improved impulse drives and secondary actors. This is a fast ship. This is a ship that can go far and it can maneuver. And its specialties are in that, in its engines. The story of the Excelsior is very much tied into its own engines. It was supposed to be built with a transwarp drive that was then sabotaged by Scotty in a Star Trek movie, and the whole thing fell apart, and they had to redesign it from scratch. And they were like, maybe transwarp isn't the way to go if the whole system can crash by one man sabotaging the ship. So, I mean, one incredibly miracle-working man, but still. So they redesigned the ship, but part of that heavy redesign on the Excelsior led to it being such a versatile ship. Like, by accident, the scientists that worked on it ended up like, oh, wow, this ship can do anything now. So it's still in service today. All right, so we got crap.
One of each.
We got 3, one of each. Are you gonna pick another one?
Because here's
that's
the
none of
thing:
them?
all 3 of those are my top 3 choices of what ships we want. And-
Oh, so you're gonna have the tiebreaker.
see, because
It's all gonna come down to the engineer.
I was hoping that you were at least going to do something else. So I'm like, okay, good. I can vote on something. Oh, I don't know. I love Akira because,
I mean, if you pick another one, I will just roll a dice. Just like,
Well, no,
here we
I don't
go.
think I those literally were the 3 options that I was thinking of. It was either Excelsior, Galaxy, or Akira. And I don't know. I like the Akira because it is like the little ship that could.
We got 20 minutes. Make a decision.
Jeez, Galaxy's also really cool, and Excelsior was something that's kind of like a personal thing.
The site to remember, the bringer of hope. That the Excelsior is a site to remember. The Galaxy is a bringer of hope.
You know what?
Come on.
And the
It's gonna be our home. I'm gonna have to go Galaxy.
home among the
Steve, I thought we were
stars.
friends.
Our home among the stars.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go Galaxy.
Okay.
I'm happy about that.
I know you are.
Do a little dance.
Yeah,
Galaxy
Let's drive a boat.
yeah, you do.
Heck yes. It'll be a good experience for you.
Don't worry. When I'm
you can
working on the
drive a-
boat, you're gonna have the best run boat in the flight.
If you can learn to expertly steer this tub, then you'll be able to steer anything else in the Federation.
Yeah, That's true.
Remember,
hands down.
faster than light, no left or right.
That's good. Yeah.
That's it. But what's also nice too is with the Galaxy class ship, it usually comes with like 10 Type 9 cargo shuttles, 12 Type 15 shuttle pods, a couple of 6 or 7 personal shuttles.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a captain's yacht.
Captain's yacht.
It comes with
She's got everything.
I'll fucking throw in a runabout if you want them. Now,
yes.
here's the thing too, though. You might have 10 shuttles, but you can't deploy all 10 at the same time.
Damn it.
You actually have more shuttles than you have crew. You can send
shuttle
out.
bays.
You can send out. Your scale is 6, which means you can send out up to 6. Your crew support is equal to your scale of your ship. So your crew support is 6, which means you can deploy up to 6 shuttles at any time,
Simultaneously.
right?
And still run the ship.
And still
you're on.
run
Yeah.
the ship, right? Where any more than that, he's like, well, all our pilots are currently on mission. It also means, though, if you lose shuttles, you got enough redundant shuttles that it will never become a problem in the show, right? They lose a lot of shuttles on Star Trek, and that's because, according to the rules, they had about 30 of them just in their bay. So they only have 20 episodes a season, so they
my
can't
God.
burn through them fast enough.
Damn it! I was looking up like a possible name. I was like, ooh, Odyssey would be a good one. Then I looked it up. Not only was Odyssey a Galaxy class ship, but it was destroyed a year earlier. I'm like, God damn it!
The
So
Odyssey 2.
Odyssey.
Electric Boogaloo.
KISS systems here. Your communications.
Oh, we could though. That would be pretty neat.
One of
we
the
get a rubber
upgrades.
duck
If we
in
get
the
at
shuttle
least
bay?
if we get at least 2 retrofits, one of them I wanted to do was upgrading the warp drives so that they don't fucking drag its dick through the subspace like the
Yeah.
these things normally have been doing.
Give it a bit of punch.
Well, just give it a bit more maneuverability, a bit more punch, and also make it cleaner.
Yeah,
so
maybe
that-
stop murdering people as you drive around.
Yeah, maybe stop murdering subspace.
Yeah, because we could do either. We could do.
Yeah.
We could do either or because I think
tearing the fabric
like the
of
warp,
reality apart as you drive a fucking city around space.
I think upgrading the warp drive, upgrading the warp drive would be good, but I think if we want maneuverability, that would kind of almost be the impulse engines.
well, whichever
Okay,
one
that-
causes the trouble.
That would be the warp. That would be the warp drive.
causes the
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah.
So like if we could clean that up, then that would be ideal. And then I don't know if we want to do like deeper scanning equipment or more weapons or heavier shields.
I say
All
more
things we
sensors.
need.
More sensors?
If we're going on
More
an
sense.
exploration,
Well, I think we don't. Well, we know the deep. Like we only know the basics of the mission, right? It is a
Right.
science scouting mission.
yeah, but by at a default, the Galaxy class is still
it's good for
robust.
science on
It
its
held
own. Yeah.
held up against the Borg several times. So
That's true.
It's got good armament.
it has beef, as they say.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a beef,
Yes.
beefy
It's,
ship.
It's a
it's
beefy
beefy.
ship.
I like that.
So I'm going to say it was refit 1 year ago,
Oh,
which
wow.
gives you from 2359 to 2370 is you get one refit on the ship. And,
just the one?
Your talents are going to include with the Galaxy class. It comes with 3 talents, and then we're going to be able to pick a 4th. The saucer separation is
Okay.
built into its design.
Sure.
Separation. The saucer can separate with the crew on the saucer section and engineering and tactical in the drive section. When the saucer is separated, it can't go to warp. It only has sublight power. It can be used for evacuations. It can be used for combat maneuvers.
But aren't the impulse engines built into the?
There are impulse engines built into the saucer section,
Yes.
Yeah.
but there's no warp.
There's no warp.
Yes. Yes.
They-
Yeah.
So it can, it's usually separated in emergency situations to separate the families from the combat.
And it's not recommended, but it can separate in warp.
It's only
Yes.
it's only ever been done once.
Once,
and
yes.
in the pilot episode of The Next Generation, and it's just that is not
That's-
that is
yeah.
beyond the red line.
Technically, it
You're-
was done twice. That other ship didn't make it.
Then in the star drive section, the engineering section, that's where the warp nacelles are. It still has its photon torpedoes. It has one phaser bank, and that's where like the warp core remains, and it can still go to warp and is more of like more combat ready. And on the star drive section is the battle bridge, which is like an auxiliary bridge where the either the senior crew or those who are left in charge of the star drive will take command of the ship. You also have modular laboratories because this thing is a giant everything in the kitchen sink. So the idea of modular laboratories is actually great for our science officers. You can just declare like this is
Right.
what we need, and we can have.
I'm gonna go do a bunch
you
of
can work on your
science
own.
shit.
You can work on your own hobbies, right? Data can have his own lab, and you can have an arboretum over here, and you can do this thing
Building
for
children.
dance lessons and
still.
doing play.
That's the holodeck.
It also comes default with redundant systems. So as if power were to fail, rather than lose power, we can roll dice to see if the system can be redirected automatically through all of its other redundancies that are built. Because again,
Yeah.
this thing is built with redundancies are like the key name. It's why
Like
it's
the
so big.
Neelixes and the.
They're redundant.
So I'm just going to hold on to this. I'm going to throw out the rest of that chapter because we're not going to use those other ships.
This is kind of a pretty cool thing for me. This is I honestly like that one of the main thing of why I chose that. I said let's go Galaxy, because again my character, I've been a fan of Geordie LaForge since I was a kid. I knew of him, and I'm like the fact that I get to serve on the same type of ship that he is.
Yep.
I'm like that is such a perfect this is my dream posting
Yeah.
is this ship.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's so cool. I've been building on this character since I was a kid. Like I've always wanted to play an engineer, and like that's the only time I've any RPG, anything I've ever wanted to play.
This has
It's
always
Star
been
Trek.
like-
It's always been an engineer. I don't know why. It was just like I have zero technical skills. Really,
I imagine you relate a lot with Geordie. Like watching
for
the show,
sure.
like here was a character who was blind who like overcame everything.
Yeah.
And
So-
that's
yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
This ship, we have to putting it all together still. It's called a mission profile. I'm not going to give you all the options for mission profile because none of them are going to be applicable to our story. You have Pathfinder and Reconnaissance, long-range missions employing most advanced stellar cartography and astronomic fields, extended exploratory missions, intelligence gathering, military operations, and risky pathfinder operations into the unknown. The other one is technical tested. The ship is equipped with an abundance of state-of-the-art or even prototype technologies, allowing them to be tested and studied in practical conditions so the flaws can be discovered and overcome. Systems can be refined and improved upon. These ships are often deployed on a broad range of missions to provide the most diverse conditions for equipment
By
testing.
the way, we have quantum torpedoes. Just saying.
Well,
There
no.
may only be a limited amount.
I'm just saying, actually, you
No?
don't unless
damn it.
unless you take tactical operations is one that gives you quantum torpedoes as a talent. Because
Never mind then.
quantum torpedoes are very new. They haven't been deployed as standard issue to ships yet. That's about 5 years away still. And the exact recipe of quantum torpedoes, what makes them different from photon, is highly classified. They're just a new. They're blue. They're blue torpedoes. But they're so tactical operations. While Starfleet is not a military, the defense of the Federation is one of Starfleet's responsibilities, and Starfleet has been required to prepare for war on numerous occasions. Thus, many ships are equipped for police and military actions, though the number of vessels outfitted in this manner varies depending on the politics of the day. A tactical operations ship, I wasn't going to put in as one of the options because this isn't a combat mission.
All right.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, Steve, but it's the year we're in. If this was set
Yeah,
in 2380,
no, that's
it'd be a little
fine.
different.
We can move on.
I know quantum torpedoes are part of your backstory, and,
Yes, they
and
are.
that can come up. And if you want to talk to Starfleet about getting that, it comes with an escalation cost,
I put
which is
in-
going to add a lot of threat into my pool to use.
I put it in a recommendation. Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear a reply.
Yeah. They're like, we'll call you. Scientific and survey operations. So, Pathfinder and
Why not
reconnaissance.
quantum torpedoes. We talk to some people.
Pathfinder and reconnaissance, technical testbed, and scientific and survey operations. Starfleet missions of exploratory and discovery means that they employ many vessels for purely scientific missions, studying unknown phenomena or supporting ongoing research. While most Federation starships are expected to have at least some capacity for scientific endeavor, some vessels are equipped specifically for such missions.
Yes, please.
And then the last two, crisis and emergency response. These vessels are equipped to respond quickly to a crisis wherever it may be. Normally capable of supporting expansive shuttle bays, they can employ large quantities of personnel or cargo to evacuate large populations from disaster areas. Such vessels also serve as hospital ships and troop transports during times of war. I'm not going to say that. Okay. It's not a great one. Multi-role explorer, though. Some of the Starfleet's most renowned and revered vessels have been jack of all trades. Rather than specialized for a single type of mission, this versatility allows for the likes of Jonathan Archer and James Kirk to explore strange new worlds, seek out new life, and boldly go where no one has gone before. So I'm going to keep it nice and simple. You have Pathfinder and reconnaissance, technical testbed, scientific survey, or multi-role.
I'm liking multi-role. I don't know about you
I
guys.
think, multi-role.
Yeah, I'm thinking multi-role or scientific. Yeah.
The scientific one just totally cold to me.
It's a tie.
But
Does anyone want to change their idea, or am I going to roll high or low?
No, let's do science vessel. Let's do a science roll.
All right, fine. Yeah.
Because we're exploring the space that's in between the two territories, between the Federation and the Klingons. I think it would be like good for us while we're doing that to just do some research on whatever we find.
and the reality is, the other stuff always happens.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
there has never been a meeting of the minds.
That's true. That's true.
So your stats here now put the Galaxy class had like departments that are default, but then they're added to the mission profile. So your command stat is 3, your security is 1, your science is 4. These go to a maximum of 5.
Oh, wow.
Con is 2, engineering is 3, and medicine is 2. So you see your science is number 1 with command and engineering at 2. Or at second place. You also are going to be able to pick, you already have saucer separation modular laboratories and redundant systems. So we don't have modular, but you can choose from these advanced research facilities, advanced sensor suites, and high-resolution sensors, which are designed for being able to see like real fine details, even down to the molecular level with whenever you're scanning something from close
Is that the
range.
equivalent of like a stellar cartography?
No, that would be more. That wouldn't be high resolution. What were those talent pages I printed out and handed out to you? They're mentioned in there.
Oh, it's okay. No, it's fine.
all
I was
right.
sort of
Well,
finding a comparison.
Oh, ship talent. Sorry, I got them right here.
We did talk about the sensors as one of the refits
Yes.
if we did a refit. So that
Sure. This was
Modular
upgraded
laboratories. The ship has considerable numbers of empty multi-purpose compartments can be converted to laboratories when required. At the start of an adventure, the crew may decide how the modular laboratories are configured. This configuration counts as an advantage, which applies to work performed within the laboratories. So before we head out, you'll tell me what your laboratories are. And then redundant systems. Redundant system ship has multiple additional redundancies allow it to withstand severe damage more easily. Nominate a single system. When that system becomes damaged or disabled, the crew may choose to activate the backup as a minor action. If the system is damaged, it is no longer damaged. If it was disabled, it becomes damaged instead. A system's backup may only be activated once per adventure, so subsequent damage will have the normal effect. So you get redundant systems. You can activate that once, where you can activate the redundant systems on if something gets damaged or destroyed.
I'm going to say engines.
Sensor suites. Here we are. You can declare it in the moment.
Oh, in the moment.
You can only do it once.
Oh, you can only do it once, though. Okay.
The vessel sensors are amongst the most sophisticated and advanced available in the fleet. Unless the ship's sensors have suffered one or more breaches, whenever a character performs a task assisted by the ship's sensors, they may reduce the difficulty of that task by 1 to a minimum of 0. And what were the others? I had we had advanced sensor suites, high-resolution sensors, and research facilities. Advanced research facilities, the vessel is equipped with additional laboratories and long-term research facilities, which allow the crew to study phenomena over a protracted period and thus generate a wealth of useful information. Whenever a character on board the ship attempts a task to perform research, and they are assisted by the ship's computers, the character gains 1 bonus momentum, which must be used to obtain. So with advanced research facilities, whenever you use the computer systems or sensors to do that research, you automatically get a blue chip here, a momentum, which can be used immediately to get an extra answer. You get to ask, whenever you do research, you can ask the GM, what's really going on? You can ask me a question. You get to get another answer from me with advanced research facilities. And then the high-resolution sensors are... The vessel sensors can gain large amounts of accurate data, though they are extremely sensitive. While the vessel is not in combat, any successful task that is assisted by the ship's sensors gain 1 bonus momentum. So it's another get more answers with the research. As long as you're not in combat, your sensors always get you a little more detail than regular sensors. Whereas what was it? The
high? The high was to minute detail.
The advanced sensor suites.
Yeah.
Perform a task, they reduce it. So advanced sensor suites lower the difficulty of using sensors, and high resolution offers you more momentum using sensors.
Okay.
And
gives
research
you an
facilities
advantage on
offer
those.
you more momentum when doing research with those sensors.
Right.
So they all kind of tie in with each other, but you only can pick one of them.
I say sensor suite.
What do you think, Science Officer?
Sensor suite is where I was going to go.
I was going to say
as well.
sensor suite too.
Sensor suite it is.
Okay. So what's nice? So whenever.
It just lowers the
As
difficulty.
long as it's not been
whenever we're using
damaged,
the sensors.
you can perform a task assisted by the ship's sensors. They can reduce the difficulty of that task by 1 to a minimum of 0, which means at that point you're still rolling the dice, but you're just rolling for how many successes you get.
Sure.
So I'm going to put down advanced sensor suites.
Sweet.
Okay, good. Someone made that joke. It wasn't me, but someone said it.
You know you're going to be able to have a bee room on this Galaxy-class ship, right? Just a room of bees.
No, I was about to say we have one
You've
lab.
been watching my streams of evil genius.
We have one lab
Topiary.
that is dedicated to the mating rituals of tribbles.
Okay.
So
This ship was built in 2359. It was refit 1 year ago in 2370. You get to increase, each refit increases a single system of the ship by 1. No system can be increased higher than 12. We have engines at 10, computers at 10, weapons at 10, structure at 10, sensors at 9, and communications at 9. You can upgrade one of those systems by 1 point.
What do you guys think? So we can bring the sensors up to 10 because we're going to be using the sensors a lot.
yeah.
So we can bring those up with the
Sensors
rest of the
are a
ship.
mixture of both new sensor array hardware and new methods of interpreting and analyzing data. Transporters are also tied into the sensor stack.
Let's
Did you say there was
Ooh,
something that
yeah,
helps
that
the
might be
engines? Because we're at 2.
Engines is
yeah.
you have engines are at 10, and engines are fine adjustments of power generation and propulsion systems, replacing components like field coils, EPS conduits, before they wear out, and adopting the latest ideas about warp field theory, intermix ratios, and other technical subjects. Engines are also tied into the deflector dish.
Question. Are the engines still Galaxy-class engines that fuck up subspace as we go along, or have they fixed that?
Yes, they are still those engines. That's one of those, it's like a climate change issue where it's one of those, it's bad, we're going to work on it.
Yeah.
We buy credits to offset it. It's fine.
Yeah, the Galaxy-class ship still runs on diesel. So
They go at maximum warp as opposed to warp 9.
the idea is like if you go over like
slower.
warp 9.5, you're actually causing damage to subspace fabric.
Okay.
Below that, you're
because
just
the
But
ship
you're
is
also causing
fucking
issues
huge.
with continuity and relativity. Whenever you come out of warp at those extreme speeds, you have to like reset your clocks because you've done a little bit of like travel to the future stuff because
Oh, jeez.
you've actually slowed down your relative speed in the universe. So
Fuck.
Yeah.
So we
that's why a
shouldn't-
chronometer is really important. It's tied into your system's computers.
Oh, yeah.
And every time you come out of warp, your computer like resets to the actual chronometer time because you
Galactic
just lose
Standard
time. You just lose.
Stardate 1.
Oh no.
Ah, man. Look at the chronometer.
So you can
fuck.
pick one of these systems here that you'd like to refit, and it's just going to boost it up by 1.
I was just say if it just boosted by 1, I'd say sensors.
Yeah.
And then you got a bunch are all at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sensors has been refit to 10.
Groovy.
Now I put it all together. The ship has a single trait. It's a Federation starship. The traits, there's no spot for it here. I'm just going to write Federation. Traits are just things that, like Bajoran, human, blind, those are things that are just permanent bits about you. No, like your ocular implants create this, it's a blind trait. It's not meant to be like, it's a neutral statement of just, this is what you are. And a Federation ship has Federation as a trait. Cardassian ship has Cardassian ship as a trait. It's immediately what you see when it comes into the view screen.
So it's obviously a Federation ship, and so that comes with its own pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you Federation ship sees another Federation ship, ally. Federation ship sees another Romulan ship, maybe not an ally, right? Borg ship is a trait.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a thing for me to write down on flashcards so that I can, when I'm building the scene, does this create an advantage or a disadvantage based on your inherent traits?
Cool.
And so sometimes like if the three of you decide to walk into a Bajoran temple, you're not going to get the advantage of being a Bajoran. The same way that someone who is Bajoran will immediately be like, well, you're Bajoran. We don't have to like
Pat you down.
figure out what you're doing here.
Grab your ears. Because apparently that's a thing.
Yeah.
This is why the Bajorans and the Ferengi do get along.
Now, there are rooms here for other stuff. Like, if we want to have this ship be like a long line of other Galaxy-class ships, we can make it that, and we can take on additional trait of like a legacy vessel. So the Enterprise is a legacy vessel. It's the Enterprise D, and it's a long line of names that have bared the name Enterprise. So if we want this to be like a B, C, D of another name, we can take on that additional trait. But it also means bring in all the baggage of its whatever service that name has been through history.
Enterprise has done a lot of junk.
Just like renowned or long-serving prototype. If we were on a Defiant class ship and we had an NX service number, we would take a prototype as that trait, which is nothing because people would then other Federation ships might see it and go like, we've never seen this design before, right? So we're not going to worry about that as advanced rules, but that's examples of additional traits that can come in. Oh, we have a scale of 6, so we get 6 talents. So we do have room for 2 more talents. Because the Galaxy class is just so big. 4 is the max for characters, but for ships you can have a number of talents equal to its scale. Please have an emergency medical hologram as a talent. Just put that in.
I think that's
Let's throw that in there.
But if you want to throw in, there's also improved power systems, impulse, improved damage control. Some of these have like basic requirements, like you can't take on fast targeting unless your security is at 3, which it's not.
With the what's the word I'm looking for? The maneuver that we came up with during character creation, would we have increased impulse drives then?
The ship's impulse drives are more powerful than on most ships, allowing the ship to accelerate much more quickly. When the flight controller succeeds at the impulse, attack pattern, evasive action, or ramming speed tasks, they may spend 2 momentum to increase the difficulty of attacks against the ship by 1 until the start of the flight controller's next turn, due to the ship's rapid acceleration. So we can put that in.
That sounds right up the alley of what we were talking
So
about.
improved
if you
impulse
wanna-
drive.
Is that okay with Cool Feet? Like,
I want more oomph for
a little more.
When I hit the
punch to
buttons.
your drive when you hit the buttons.
The Schofield Boogie, is that what you're calling it?
Schofield maneuver.
The Schofield maneuver.
Schofield.
The other one here,
like
if
boogie.
you want to have things like runabouts,
That's what we call it.
the Galaxy class ship does not come with extensive shuttle bays by default. If you'd like to have larger shuttles and be able to take small craft into your shuttle bays, like Voyager bringing on Neelix's ship, you'd need extensive shuttle bays for that.
we
The
improved
improved
the
warp
sensors,
drive. The ship's warp drive is more efficient, capitalizing on improved field dynamics, better control of antimatter flow, and some other advancements allow the ship to expend less energy when traveling at warp. Whenever the ship spends power to go to warp, roll a command die for each power spent. For each effect rolled, the point of power is not spent. That's kind of neat.
Do you guys want to try doing that as well?
Sure.
Like, just in case we were jumping into warp, make the engines a little easier on it.
Yeah.
Bunch of scaredy cats.
You're flooding it. You flooded the.
No, you're flooding. No, get your foot off the gas. Just okay, and then
You didn't hit the
So 1, 2,
clutch.
3,
you
4,
gotta
5,
pop
6. So
the clutch.
have to bang them
we're
into
not
twice.
going to have the EMH. Then.
Oh.
All right.
the EMH.
So
The
it's
emergency
either
medical
warp or
hologram.
EMH.
Yeah, no, let's get the EMH and
It's actually
fuck
got the
fixing
stats
engines.
for the emergency medical hologram
Nice.
built in.
It's the doctor from Voyager.
Fine. Let's do that.
But not the Doctor from Voyager. It's the Doctor from Voyager from the moment he woke up in the first episode.
That's
Yes.
true.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
he's like, what's the nature of medical emergency? I'm obnoxious and I'm really rude. And it's the Mark 1.
Yeah.
Don't
Alright.
leave him on.
It's great because we don't have a medical character. So
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
going to be like our supporting character. You got to keep bringing in. But we will have a medical
Our
character.
medical,
it'll just
our
be,
medical hologram.
it'll be
Steve.
it'll be built in for that.
As long as our red shirts aren't all in medical, I think we're
Yeah,
okay.
I think we should.
Well,
be all right.
actually, this is at a point in the story apparently where the red and gold switched. So
Yep. Yeah.
commanding officers wear red, and
Yes.
then the ensigns wear gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so many fucking red shirts died during like Kirk's era, that people stopped wanting to be in those positions and wearing red shirts because it was such a common thing for people to get killed all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
And that's what they were called, red shirts. And like that wasn't just like, apparently that was something that happened in universe as well, not just like something that people laugh about watching the show. So when Next Generation came on, they had like actually changed it so that like Picard wears our red color.
And then it was blue, actually, statistically, who got killed more often.
That's true.
And
yeah.
then, I mean, everybody got it. But
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
it
Everybody
became
got
the
it
blue
on
shirts.
occasion.
were
If you
the-
weren't
yeah.
senior staff, you had a
Yeah. Yeah, if you
You had
weren't a
time.
named character.
So wait,
On
what
this
kind of
mission, we're doing-
uniforms do we have? Do we have like the TNG uniforms, or do we have like the hybrid DS9?
We're at that point where it would be up to the commanding officer to determine whether or not you're wearing
you
Next
want a
Generation
tug on
or
your
D69
shirt
because
all the
as we
time?
see in Star
Yeah,
Trek
right.
Generations
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
Enterprise,
it was the
they
kind
were
of combined, yeah.
interfering. They were intermixed.
Every
So
time I stand
your-
up,
your-
reload my shirt like
your-
a shotgun.
Your standard uniform is probably the TNG stuff with the DS9 and Voyager uniforms as it's being replaced because it's being phased out now. Because when Voyager launched, and Voyager has already launched, everyone on that ship was wearing the new uniforms.
uniforms, yeah.
So we're at a point now where you probably default to the Voyager Deep Space Nine uniforms.
Okay.
And if you really want to have TNG stuff, it'll be up to your commanding officer.
I mean, like Voyager and Next Generation carried like similar uniforms, at least same color scheming, right?
Oh yeah.
yeah, they're the
it's just
same
that
exactly.
instead
One
of,
is
like-
black with colored shoulders, and the other is a solid uniform with black shoulders.
Okay, what are you guys feeling like?
I've always been partial to the colored shoulders.
Yeah, I like colored
you like
shoulders.
Voyager?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's with
Voyager
also like
did
that little blue turtleneck thing
Yeah.
underneath, and it's like
Yeah,
a
the little,
jacket that could be unzipped.
Yeah, which Janeway did on some occasions. I am liking that. Yes.
Structure first.
right.
Let's do Voyager style costumes. I'm liking that. I'm a fan of the tried, tested, and true, but I gotta love those color shoulders.
I think actually my absolute favorite is the silver shoulders, like from the movies. I
yeah.
just love. I love that sleek style.
Yeah, when they brought that over to Deep Space Nine, it would look really cool.
That's what I liked.
Starship's normal power capacity is equal to its engines. Your power is equal to your engines, which is 10.
Nice.
Sweet baby
Damn.
Jesus.
And your crew support is 6.
Nice.
crew support is equal to its scale. It also so with crew support it has 6, which means during our game you can create up to 6 support characters. So when you want to declare a support character, bring it in, and then they'll become a character, but then it will use up that 6, and then they'll either become recurring characters or one-shot red shirts. But either way, you only get 6. So if you burn through them, we'll have to return to Starbase and get more crew.
Well, you guys have only been out there for 3 days. What are you doing back here already? Well, funny you should ask.
Yeah.
Science
we
officer
boldly
keeps touching
went,
people.
so yeah.
There was an accident down in the shuttle bay, and a lot of people got spaced.
Yeah.
One of them was the transporter officers, so we couldn't use the transporters to get them back.
Yeah. It was not a fun day.
We tried to move the ship around to get them back into the shuttle.
Yeah,
but
scoop 'em
it's a
up.
boat. We ended up ramming speed all of them.
So
We tried to just leave the shuttle bay open and just take it and scoop them back up, but we just painted half the ship with.
It's just a red
conclusion,
smear.
Don't look on the starboard side.
Oh, that's not a red stripe. No, it's a red stripe, but it's
Yep,
not
yep.
intentional.
in conclusion, we need a ship wash.
Yeah. So 1, we need 30 more
those at
people. 2, a quick wash, and then we'll be on our way.
We'll be back, yeah.
3, if you have 5 minutes, put like a child-proofing lock on the airlocks down in the shuttle bay. That would be great.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I'll give you a full report later when we come back.
If
If we come back. Gotta bank on that if. I don't want to explain myself.
You don't accept my answer? Come with me to the shuttle bay.
I'd like to have a... What do you mean are these magnet boots I'm wearing? I don't know what you're talking about. These are just my favorite shoes. I like to wear... Those are just weights for exercise purposes.
get my fitness status.
I love that. Like that's the euphemism within the ship. Is like you gotta go to the shuttle bay.
Yeah. Did you get my coffee wrong? You better not be sassing me. Go for a walk in the shuttle bay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's silly.
God damn it, Ensign! Shuttle bay. Just shuttle bay.
I need you to go down to the shuttle bay. I have a job for you. No, sir. Please.
Please, not the
It'll be
shuttle
good.
bay.
It'll be good.
Unrelated, could someone route the shuttle bay controls to my chair?
That'd be great.
A one-way comm channel to the shuttle bay.
You know what? I'm just gonna mark it down. I'm the chief engineer. That's already been happening. That's already.
Yeah, that's already-
You have a control.
I have a little control pad on my chair.
Yeah.
You have a way to open it up to the vacuum so that through the Jeffries tubes, they all shunt out into the shuttle bay.
It's like Mr. Burns' trapdoor
Exactly.
button.
Yes. But they're all-
Release the space hounds. Right?
But there's one all over the ship. It's just trapdoors. It's all trapdoors.
We've
I
installed.
can just see it like Schofield's like, just stand there. No, a little to your right. A little more to your right.
Just in one of the random hallways, so just like, yeah, could you just stand right there for a second? Everyone else in the hallway, could you leave really quickly? No reason. Doors close. Piece of the
fields.
hallway just opens up like a fucking fun house.
I almost like I kind of remember in the movie Hook when Hook is like, now let's go to the boo box. So I kind of
Yeah,
imagine
the fucking boo box.
the shuttle bay.
Oh, the boo box.
Not the shuttle bay.
The shuttle bay, yes.
Yes,
Oh,
the
yes,
shuttle
the shuttle
bay.
bay. Fuck.
You guys are horrible.
Schofield runs a tight ship.
Now that's the Schofield maneuver.
Okay,
Yes.
given it's a Galaxy class ship, we all have a good idea of what the bridge is going to look like and the
trapdoor.
layout of it.
Yep.
So
With those
we'll
uncomfortable
have
chairs.
We're gonna have we'll have the captain's chair and your ready room off to the side, and we have the con, which we're not going to worry about. Splitting it up into two different support. This is going to be more like how Voyager, where Tom Paris does both. This has been refitted. The layout of the bridge is a little bit different. It's got the bigger console that Tom Paris is using on Voyager has now been put at the front instead of the two that we have Wesley and Data running on.
Your
and that's
keyboard
what
got upgraded.
our helmsman is going to be on. He's our con officer. Station consolidates all
control,
flight
that's-
control operations, helm and navigator positions into a single station. Then we have two others. We've got our operations, which covers sensor operations and internal system positions, and should be staffed by an officer well-versed in science and technology. This can double as the engineering station in the back, or it can be where our science officer sits. The tactical station combines communications, security oversight, and tactical positions. We don't really have a tactical officer in this team, so it's probably going to be our first support character will be created.
Hologram. Oh yeah.
We'll be
Yes.
creating a support character.
That as well.
Which
And
we
that's
will
where the
name
trap
after.
goes.
We get up to 6, so we'll if we can use them all, those will be our Patreon supporters. And the following, and then engineering, you can just be down in engineering, or you can have a station up in the bridge. But there are certain things that can only be done in engineering. that
I
you
like
can't even do
the
at engineering
versatility
station.
of like if I want to be in engineering I can, but then it's like if Jordy just pops up on the bridge,
Don't
he's
worry
got a
about that.
station.
I like it that you're locked in the basement.
Yeah.
Shut up.
It's a tradition of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
What are you doing up here?
Yeah.
Get back in your hole.
I like that though in Next Generation every now and then they'd be in some kind of like crazy situation and then you just hear on the comm Jordy's be like, what the fuck is going on up there?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I need you to do this. Why? And then they shut off the comm thing and they're just like, okay, love you, bye. Click. And he's like, son of a
bye.
And then it cuts to engineering and it's just sparks everywhere. He's like, son of a bitch. And then he just goes back to his job.
You
like,
never seen this happen on the bridge.
fucking miss hanging out on the bridge, hanging out with Data, not being down here with the fire, where all the fire and sparks are.
Yeah.
Having answers to my questions.
And the giant like shuttle bay like door that's just like,
Yeah.
damn it, I'm
Locked in.
locked
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, it shuts and seals him inside the engine room. It's like, son of a bitch.
Oh, do you have a Geordie maneuver?
Oh, not that again.
I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe.
eject the warp core. That's the fucking Geordie maneuver.
Eject the warp core, yeah.
Roll under the doors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As the door's coming down, be like, not today. And just,
He has
He's like-
10
like,
minutes.
he
the
always-
thing's been open for 10 minutes, but he waits until it's up.
Exactly. He's like,
Yeah.
everyone go, go. No, you can, like,
I got our
we're
finishing
good.
touches down.
Okay.
Oh,
You
excellent.
come with phaser array, photon torpedoes, tractor beams. The damage is all right, but because the security level is quite low, because we're a science team, we don't have a big security-based crew. So your phaser array has a 7 damage. Your photon torpedoes have a 7 damage.
Oh, cool. That's
do
still pretty fucking crazy.
It's gonna be pretty
Like,
good, yeah. Well, I mean, exactly. You do come with a tractor beam with a strength of 5, and tractor beams don't deal damage, but when it comes to dealing with resistance and capturing, you would roll them as if they were dealing damage, but they're instead kind of just holding.
It's like a space strength check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a total power of 10. Every time you go to warp, you have to spend power. Every time you fire phasers, you have to spend power. When power hits 0, you start losing systems.
Oh, so we have to divvy that 10
And
up
so
between systems as we go along.
during a scene, and there are ways that the engineer can do minor actions to restore power to older systems.
Yeah, buddy.
But you don't have we got redundant systems, and but you don't have like secondary reactors. So you can burn the ship out if you push it too hard, and you can whenever you leave an encounter, power goes back to 10. So only during that encounter, it kind of works like your spell slots.
And yes, I will be saying at
interesting.
some point, I'm giving it all she's got.
And so
All she's got is
we
one.
know that this is a ship that was only refitted previously. You're the first crew to now take command since its refit. It's being designated with a new name. It was this ship may have seen service before, or may have just been sitting in a dry dock because Galaxy class ships were kind of like, well, what do we do with these things?
There were a lot at one point. They mass produced them.
They've
Yeah.
put it in advanced sensor suites, improved impulse drives. They've equipped it with this prototype EMH. Try it out if you want, but a lot of people don't seem to like it. The modular laboratories, redundant systems, and you got the saucer separation. Before we end this first episode, we need to christen the ship. We need to give it a name.
The USS Oops.
We also should come up with a designation. 5 numbers. The NCC.
Oh, the NCC. Yeah,
That's on the saucer. Every
yeah.
ship has a designation of numbers.
It's not always
5.
USS?
Well, there's the USS, like USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D.
What is
USS
that?
Voyager, NCC 74656. It's a designation registry number.
Oh, okay.
And so the name
License
is
plate.
the name that it's christened with out of naval tradition, but the registry number is its actual
It's the
license plate.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And
yeah.
so-
I forgot they
But
had
they-
that.
they-
fucking-
Like your
there was-
social insurance number.
But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
if it,
if they had like a legacy name like Enterprise, that's why the NCC 1701-D. Like that's the
it's the fourth name to get that number.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
But I can just roll this number a couple times.
What do you guys think?
I think we could choose
1, 2,
We'll
4,
each
1,
choose a number.
3.
I think we could choose a number and then have him.
12413 sounds like is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
Sure.
Is everybody
don't
all right
care.
with that?
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 4, 3.
The name is the hard part.
It's the name is I'm struggling with. Yeah.
There is a tradition to name ships after geographic features.
Geographic features, mythical creatures, people from history. It can be
USS
artists.
Ontario.
Like there's
USS
the
Niagara.
the USS Sosky.
Escarpment.
There's
Niagara by the lake.
all the runabouts in Deep Space Nine are named after rivers.
Yeah.
There's the Yangtze and all that stuff. There's
USS Puxatawny.
but we've also
Is
got
there a USS Niagara?
I think there is.
Yeah.
maybe I'm not sure.
I think I remember looking up. I think that might have been.
I think it's apocryphal. I don't think it's been in the show. Maybe in a novel somewhere. There's a.
We could be driving the USS Ontario,
We could
Lake Ontario.
really geographically stamp that one down.
The USS,
the USS
Liberty.
Ogopogo.
Ogo.
We're recording in Liberty Village, USS Liberty,
USS Titicaca.
USS Titicaca,
That's
Liberty
going
Village.
to set a
Actually,
tone, Steve.
the Liberty does sound really good.
named after
especially
that famous island in Newfoundland, the USS Dildo,
Dartmouth.
USS Swallow It.
but also named after famous figures too. Like there's USS Crazy Horses out there, and there's
USS Trudeau.
Oh, there was the Niagara class of
Oh,
starship.
the Niagara class. Do we
So
have
then there was a
a
Niagara.
Liberty though?
Yeah.
Is Liberty the name of a ship? Because
you
I
want to
actually
look it
think
up,
that's
Steve? USS Liberty.
USS Liberty. I'll look it up. Yeah.
because I'm positive that has to exist considering it's American writers. It'd be wacky if they didn't have a USS Liberty. But I think that's a pretty fucking cool name.
And then the show's going to be Star Trek Liberty.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I like that, actually.
right?
Yeah.
Is that not the coolest shit?
Oh
Like,
man, if I came up with a good name for something
Do you want to
once
change
in
the
my
mission
life,
profile
that'd be great.
from science to something else?
Science to America.
Yeah, we're driving like the fucking uneconomic tub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's no
This-
Liberty?
No, no, this might work because there is a USS Liberty, but it's a sovereign class ship.
So it doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist.
Oh,
And it
cool.
was 2373 was when it launched.
Oh, it launches in 2 years.
Oh, we're not going to
It's,
last 2 years.
That's true.
So they just took the name after we blew it up sometime into
Yeah,
the
no,
mission?
I'm definitely driving it into something.
And to be fair,
it's-
the Defiant used to be a different
That's also true, yeah,
They rechristened it as Defiant for Cisco.
Well, it was a prototype vessel that was never named, and it was mothballed because they couldn't figure out how to get it to not blow up. And then the Borg showed up, and they're like, "Well, this isn't ready now, and it won't be able to fight them." So then Cisco
I mean, it
convinced them,
depends.
like, I
It
need a
depends
ship.
on how much we actually like really want it, like because this is expanded universe, like that. This
I mean,
USS
what does
Liberty.
Discord say? What do they want to do?
I think.
What do they want to call the ship? What do they want to call the ship?
I think they
Why
still
don't
want
you
to call it
just come around
Star
the door
Prize
and yell it to the
Entership.
door?
She doesn't know how to turn on the mic.
I didn't show her that.
We got Bree in the other room.
Starship Iscariot, Dresden.
Okay, yeah, okay, this is good because they've been yelling at me for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Star
Just
Prize
like, why don't you
Entership.
just turn your mic on and tell
Star
them?
Prize Entership.
Yeah, they want the USS Iscariot mostly is the one that's getting
Iscariot.
That's Stephen Prince. I swear to God.
screaming.
Stephen Prince should be our tactical officer. Let's just
Yes,
call it.
done.
Our head of security.
Famed head of security, Stephen Prince.
Famous.
He'll
head
be
of
stabbed
security.
so many times by a
I
bat.
think I saw USS Horizon.
Yeah, the USS Horizon.
Horizon's
After
actually not-
after Event Horizon, the
Actually,
movie.
well, I was gonna say, but it's also
Very
the
scientific,
space
too.
between the two areas, which is the horizon, but
The bismuth?
between two territories.
Star Trek Horizons.
Star Trek Horizons. I actually think that's a fucking cool name. I'm liking that better than Liberty.
Yeah.
How are we feeling
Well,
about
let me-
Horizon?
I'm just looking up,
Isn't
making
that
double
a fan
checking.
show?
I don't care if it's canon, Steve. We can fucking call it whatever
You know
we
what?
want.
The last ship of the USS Horizon was in 2160, so we're good.
You could totally reuse that name now.
What's its designation number? Did it have an NCC?
1CC 176.
That's only 3?
Yeah, it was a Daedalus class.
Yeah, that's fucking. Someone wrote that in a book and didn't know how NCC numbers work because it goes as minimum 4, and that was 100 years ago. 176.
Well, actually,
The ship was built, launched, and commissioned in the 22nd century.
Oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a new one. We're gonna go 12143 because I rolled the dice.
So USS Horizon.
USS Horizon.
Yeah, buddy. Who actually? who-
That was from Hastings.
Nice.
Hastings.
Thank you, Hastings.
Although I like you, well, USS Dresden. That was a pretty good
I'm leaving
option
now.
too. But yes, Horizon.
Buy microphones.
We've got our ship. We've got our designation. We've got our mission profile. We got our crew. We at least know one support character we're writing down. We got the USS Horizon is in dock with Narendra Station. And Narendra Station was not as big for a Galaxy class, so it's not actually docked with the with the station. It's up there above, and you actually, when you're out that window, Schofield, you see it like eclipsing the star in the Narendra system, and it's just kind of like it blocks out the whole light, and it's just like
He just smiles, looking at it like, yeah.
And then you see like all the lights underneath the running lights now become like
The sun.
once the sunlight is gone, all you see are all the running lights under the ship, and you see the big spotlight under the saucer reading out, USS Horizon. And,
I like big spaceships, and they like
and
me.
and their shuttlecrafts coming to and from as they're bringing the crew on board, and the senior staff is assembled, and we bring you into
Are we just going into
all
a
your
shuttle?
Stuff all your stuff is brought into your crew quarters. Some of you are beamed over, some of you are brought over in shuttle, and you arrive up on the bridge where there's the support crew are there, and you begin to take your stations. But you're brought into
Night shift's over.
You're brought into a briefing room. And we'll actually stop with this nice little cliffhanger. You're brought into your briefing room to meet the commanders of Narendra Station, which is a Vulcan and a Klingon, who are working in as a joint task force for Narendra Station.
Vulcan and a Klingon.
Yeah, and
Shit, now I've seen everything.
I was going to use the names that they gave us here. We have Captain Temek. Is our Vulcan, the commander of Narendra Station, and the Klingon here is his name is Makvar, and Makvar is he's less in charge of Narendra Station and more in charge of the Klingon fleet stationed at Narendra Station, right? He's looking after his people. But then as you walk in, the four of you for your briefing for your mission into the Shackleton Expanse, you walk in and the Klingon is arguing with the Vulcan, who's acting all stoic, because there's a third member here for your briefing, and this person here is Commander Varrock. Commander Varrock stands up and brushes off his uniform, and he's very clearly a Romulan commander standing there. And Makvar is not happy that he's here. And the four of you walk into this room, and the Vulcan captain turns and he goes, I see you've arrived for your briefing. Have a seat. And we'll come back next week where you'll learn what is actually going on here in the Shackleton Expanse.
What, Commander, please? The fuck, dude, please don't be upset. Is this?
What the credits?
So not a whole lot of actual dice rolling into the story because we spent our time on customizing our ship and getting to sort of set the tone and talking a lot of Trek. It's gonna happen in this fucking game. We're probably gonna get 1 hour of actual play done because sorry, Conal, you're in a room full of fans.
Do not worry about it.
For our first episode here on the now newly christened Star Trek Horizon, The Terrible Warrior Adventure. I'm your game master, Justin Ecock here, and when we will return to the Shackleton Expanse in 2 weeks' time, here at the table playing our science officer, Lieutenant Lassa Bow, played by
Velvet Duke.
And
where can people find you, Velvet?
You can find me online with the Dandies, Improv Dandies on Facebook, Twitter, etc.
Sweet. And working our way up, we have, well, actually, I should have done it in order of rank. We have our ensign, our helmsman, Ensign Steve Armstrong.
Steve Armstrong, played by Brent Morris, Closet Geek. ClosetGeekShow.ca is where you find my podcasts.
Wicked. And our Chief of Engineering, Lieutenant Commander,
Adam Monroe.
Adam Monroe.
Played by Steve Saylor, aka The Blind Gamer, youtube.com/snowball.
And our captain of the USS Horizon,
Captain Gavin Schofield.
Played by Conal MacBeth, better known in the nerd community as Toronto's greatest supervillain and evil genius, Dr. Terrawad. You found on YouTube. We also have a website, is evilinc.co.
And next time on the second episode of Star Trek Adventures, we boldly go into the Shackleton Expanse.
Whoosh, whoosh, zoom!
Terrible Warriors' new episodes out every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Star Trek Adventures returns in 2 weeks' time, where we finally go on our mission to explore strange new worlds and take on new mysteries. And I think there's Klingons in trouble. But if you return on Thursday, Tiff Compton, longtime PC, first-time GM, brings us into the world of Song of Ice and Fire, the land of Westeros, Game of Thrones. It's gonna get bloody, and it all starts on Thursday in a campaign we ultimately called Blood and Gold. And next week, alternating with Star Trek on Tuesdays, Mike the Birdman Dodd brings his Sailor Scouts back into the mix with their first trial, where they end up in a mall to discover the true meaning of love. Aww. And on Thursday of next week, alternating with Song of Ice and Fire, Derek the Bard and his Edmonton crew head out into the city of Duskvol. The Gulls are planning a heist, and nothing's gonna go wrong at all. This isn't the kind of game that goes off the rails, no. You can follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors. You can support us at patreon.com/Terrible Warriors. We have a Discord channel. We have an Instagram account. There's all these things that you can click on and follow through if you just visit TerribleWarriors.com. Today's Terrible Warriors and your Starfleet officers were Velvet Duke, Conal MacBeth, Steve Saylor, Brent Morris, and Justin Ecock, and we'll return next time. And until then, dear listener, thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, and playing. Thank you for telling us your stories and rolling dice, and for being Terrible Warriors.